This is a continued discussion from the previous episode of Nose to Tail, a podcast where we explore the world of aviation lifecycle solutions, insights, and more. Presented by Jet Midwest.
Now, one of the things that we've heard a lot from have been challenges in the supply chain for some of the repair organizations. Has that been a hindrance, or is your relationship with Honeywell maybe part of your solution to that? Maybe you can enlighten us on how that's maybe impacting your organization from a component piece part level.
Yeah, and one of the things that I have here too, I was 8 years in supply chain in my last company. I was all the way from management to senior director, so I've got a lot of supply chain experience. So I've assisted there as well, but we have a good supply chain team here. But the difference between us and a lot of the other companies that are out there, including Honeywell is pretty much OEM eccentric. They will stick to that OEM path as they get engines through. With what we have here, we have that same path that going through Honeywell with the OEM parts, but we also have a good supply chain that knows how to go out and look at the market. And I've even come to you guys at Jet Midwest to get some parts to clear some engines. So we look at both sides, and I've actually assisted Honeywell on several occasions where they've been stuck for a part on a newer engine, and I've helped them find those parts. They got a good team too, but when you've been doing this for 40 years, if I can't find it, I can either make a call and find a friend that can find it. So what happens usually is if the supply chain gets stuck in an engine, they'll do as much as they can using ILS and those types of other things, and they'll come to me and say, hey, can you find this part? And probably about 80% of the time I can find it. So we develop a path to get it clear. And we also have a pretty robust machine shop, so we're starting to bring a lot of the repairs in-house, which completely takes the supply chain requirement out of the process. If you can keep it in-house, which I'll speak a little bit about our landing gear here too. On the E170 and the ATR landing gear, we do all the rework in-house. And we use our own machine shop to do that rework. And we have a 10,000 square foot plating shop that we do our own chrome, our own CAD, all right here. It's one of the only shops in the eastern half of the United States that has that. And paint as well. We have a huge paint booth. And when you can control your own destiny in this stuff, you will be successful even in a tough supply chain because you can figure it out.
Are you doing much third-party work with some of those extra resources?
Our MPG shop, it has a whole product line with third-party work. We're doing stuff for the OEM right here at Honda. We're doing work for them. We're doing work for Genesis down the street here. We're doing work for the C-130 shop. This is open up right down the street here. We get quite a bit of work, and we want to grow that work, matter of fact, because we have capacity there. Anything from paint to plating to machining, we would love to build that up. So if anybody's got some work they'd like to send us out there, we'll certainly open the door to them.
It's good to hear. We've developed some internal capabilities with our component MRO, and we're so busy with our own work. Sometimes we're challenged as our competitor quite literally sends in work and ends up squeezing itself into the plan. And our team's like, wait a minute, why is my stuff not shipping? Like, well, we have this other work, which we need. We need that work. We need third-party work because then it's not every dollar going from the left pocket to the right. It's someone else's dollar coming into your pocket. And those are helpful dollars, that's for sure.
Right.
So Barry, maybe help me understand, what's the next couple of years for Piedmont? Maybe what's out in front of your organization that you could share with us, either from maybe a technology standpoint or some additional capabilities that you're really putting in front of yourselves to differentiate your company?
Yeah, so if you look at the APU side of things, we need to become even better at the 131 and 500 and become a powerhouse with those two product lines. And that's where the growth in the APU area is going. We're still bringing some repairs in-house for those APUs and building on that. We've invested a ton of money into this place. We've got a brand new test cell here in the Greensboro location that runs those engines. It's a world-class test cell. So we've already done that investment. So from an APU perspective, we're going to use that as the path to growth in that particular line. The 200-250 is going to be a growth product for us too, because there's still some airlines out there that aren't with us. And there's no reason for them not to be with us since we're the only game in town. So there's growth there. And we're working on that. And then on the landing gear side, if you know anything about the E-Jet, it's going through its 5-year overhaul process. And all the aircraft now are coming in for the landing gear where they need to be overhauled. And to be honest with you, there's not enough capacity in the world to do them all. We're the only shop in the world that has 6 rotable sets. We have 6 rotable sets for the E170 that we own.
Wow.
And I'm actually marketing to buy another one. We're going to build that up and get the rotable sets for our customers. But the next 5 years is going to be tough for the E170 because all these gears are coming in for overhaul. Whoever takes advantage of increasing the capacity in their own shop to be able to consume or get more gears out and satisfy the customers is going to be rewarded for that. And that's going to be a big growth opportunity for us. From my perspective, from a new part induction, if you read that book, Good to Great, there's a hedgehog concept in there. They talk about get good at what you do. And there's got to be a time where you don't bring anything on new yet for a bit and get really good at what you're doing now. And that's where we need to ride probably the next 2 years. Now, I'm not the CEO because he may change all of our minds if you bring something else on. But from our current projection from a local leadership area, that's where we're focusing our energies on, is getting to become absolute experts in what we do better than anybody in the world.
With that is a great message to hear, right? So some people, especially I would say myself and my organization, my chairman is more than happy to take the risk to bring in projects and kind of take a flyer on some new things. And it does stress out an organization sometimes, and sometimes it becomes a new part of our capability of what our organizations can bring to our clients. And sometimes it's something we go, hey, let's not do that anymore. Let's find someone who's already great at that and hire them. So I feel your pain sometimes when you have to deal with someone else saying, hey, here's this thing. Good luck. Figure it out. And it's fun. It's part of what I love about the business, frankly, is that there's so many different things that are possible. And at Jet Midwest, we take on any challenge sometimes to our own detriment. But again, we certainly have a passion and love for those challenges in and of themselves.
My little business with the trading and leasing has been challenged to grow way more than I'm at now. And I've done that for the last few years, but that's an open season. Growing my business won't impact, it'll help the operations.
And it is a fun adventure getting out there and trading. You started as a mechanic at 12 years old. Now you're in the trading. Is there an internal conflict within Barry himself as to which one of these things he enjoys more?
Yeah.
Or do you have a way to satisfy each itch with the proper kind of scratch?
Yeah, I do have a little conflict because I have a passion about seeing things get solved on the floor. We fix a challenge out there and we fix what's going on an engine ships, or we cut 50% off the turn time, all those types of things that we do. We improve the quality, we make our customers happy, that kind of thing. But I also enjoy that same type of challenge when I close big deals on the trading side of things. And I'm also involved in sales and the contracts and a lot of the things I'm involved in. And I also get to go out and help the shop when they need it. So there's a little bit of that. I also work on cars and hot rods at my house too. So that's my little mechanicking stuff that I get to do. That's one of my hobbies, is fast cars and trucks. I got that itch going on there.
What's your current project?
I've got a 2012 Ford Raptor that needs a little bit of love that I'm going to be working on this weekend. It's my daily driver and she needs a little love. And then I've got a 2003 Cobra Terminator Mustang that's in my shop right now that's all done, but it's my weekend cruiser.
Is it about going fast?
You can't do that much here now, but I like the power. If you need to get out of the way of somebody, you can in one of my cars. Some of these other cars, they can't get out of the way. But if I do anything fast, I take it to the track.
From an executive and a leadership, they look at you and go, what are the other things going on in the background there? And they oftentimes don't get to hear those stories. So it's good to hear you've got those things going on in your life. So Barry, I always ask all of my guests to talk about maybe what their favorite aircraft is and why and what made them attracted to that. Maybe you could tell us your thoughts and kind of what makes aircraft or that circumstance special.
Well, it's pretty easy for me. I lived on a UE for 4 years. So my favorite aircraft is a UE. I've always would love to have been able to fly one, but I know that aircraft pretty intimately. I helped with avionics when I was on there, helped with hydraulics when I was there. We kind of worked as a team. And I also flew with ex-Vietnam pilots, and they tried to scare the crap out of you when you fly with them. And they did some crazy stuff with them. So it's a little different than getting on a commercial airliner and sitting in a chair for 5 hours flying somewhere, right? This was something I got to be part of. Well, I can hear a UE coming from miles away. All I have to do is listen to the blades chop. The UE has a very unique, because it's just a single rotor, right? All the newer ones have 4 and 6 rotor heads. So this is just that single rotor, and you can hear it pop, pop, pop. Like you ever watch MASH? That's the sound they make when they come roaring in there, right? But yeah, that would be my pick, just because I'm so intimate with that aircraft and have so many. I got about 350 hours in it the 4 years I was in. So
well, I can imagine that those pilots who were in combat zones, being in a non-combat zone, probably a little more freewheeling. Like you're like, oh, it's kind of dangerous to fly with these guys. They're going, no one's shooting at us. This is great. What a great story.
Yeah, those guys could fly. The Chattahoochee River goes through Georgia down there, and they would fly down that river about probably 5 feet off the water, wide open. It was a blast.
Wow.
And I thought, well, if I ever go to war, I want to go with these guys because they'll get me out of where I got to go.
Man, what a cool experience to be able to get as a young man. I always like to give all of my guests a chance to just kind of expand. Is there something you wanted to talk about, or something that we did talk about you'd like to add a little bit of flavor to?
You kind of brought it up. It's the growth of Piedmont, where we're going to be standing, and not just Piedmont, TAT as a whole, because we also have TAT Limco. I don't know if you've heard of them, Patrick, but they're in Tulsa.
Sure, absolutely.
They're one of the largest heat exchangers companies in the world. I think I might be wrong here, but I do believe they're the largest non-OEM in the world. And what's unique about Limco is they make their own cores. And my trading company also sells their excess inventory. So I got a little bit of my company in each one of our divisions. But they have a really neat shop down there. And if anybody out there needs a heat exchanger work where you might send it to the OEM and they'll scrap it because it needs a recore or there's crazy money, we make our own cores. So that's a neat little outfit. And they do it just about for any aircraft. Their capability list is just huge. They handle all the new
So
stuff.
is that considered a PMA core?
They've done it through an engineering type order, and I'm told it's not a DER or PMA. I'm not exactly completely up to speed as how they did it, but I know it's approved by most of the OEMs and that they're doing it. So they're connected with the industry pretty well. And there's one heat exchanger, I believe it's on the 777 that has a dual core, and I might get this a little wrong, but the OEM it's a single core, and they were cracking. So Limco developed a dual core for it, so it wouldn't crack in the middle, and they're much more reliable than what the OEM was. Stuff like that is really cool to watch them do it. And that's another thing that's very interesting. I don't know if you've ever been through a shop that actually gets the metal wafers to make the cores. That's how they get the raw metal to make those cores and put them together and braze them and weld them together. It's pretty neat to watch. A lot of skill there.
Well, maybe we can have one of your Limco colleagues join us on a future podcast, and they can give us a little more in the weeds view of that. Certainly they could use Part 43 rules, although that's a pretty significant use of that rule. What a great experience. That's the power of this aftermarket. It's one of the things I love the most about being in the aviation aftermarket is that there's problems to be solved all over the place. And it takes a mechanic or somebody sitting there staring at this thing going, we should be able to fix this. Let's just dig in, find a way to get this thing done because the market demands it. And sometimes the OEMs, like you mentioned with Honeywell, they're getting out of these aging markets because they need to be investing in the next one. Mm-hmm. And they can't do everything. And so they find partners like your company in Piedmont to go in and say, hey, can you guys handle these product lines for us and be the experts out there? And that's awesome. I again, just absolutely love the aftermarket and the way it's able to create these things and really keep the market going. And in this circumstance with Limco, it sounds like they found a better way to solve the problem that was existing with the cracking that was going on. So
right.
Absolutely. That'd be great to have those guys on and have a little dialogue about it.
Yeah, they do have a neat shop down there, and they've made really good progress in getting themselves put together well too. They have some process improvement they needed to do, and they've completed it all. They got a really neat CEO down there, or GM down there. He's been there about a year now. He's doing a great job. Good shop.
Anything else, Barry, on your mind?
No, just
this has been great.
It's been an honor to get on here with you guys, and I'm glad to see you guys as a customer because it worked out well. And Rick and I got to know each other pretty well, and I do plan on coming down to seeing you guys' shop down here pretty soon. I just got to I had my shoulder replaced 3 months ago, so it's traveling with throwing bags around it has been my game here lately.
Totally understand.
Better.
Well, thank you, Barry. I appreciate you being on today. This has been a fantastic dialogue. I know all of our listeners are going to get a lot out of it, and they're going to learn a lot about Piedmont and your other companies that you're helping support and some of your products. So again, I appreciate you coming on. And for all of you that are listening out there, please like and subscribe to the Nose to Tail podcast, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to our podcast, Nose to Tail. Please like and subscribe to our channel. Presented by Jet Midwest.